Lyft is cheaper than Uber. But anyways, I'm so excited. I just want to jump right into it. So without further ado, today we're going to do a wire wrap quartz, rose quartz in fact. And rose quartz is the only stone that makes sense because today I'm going to show you something a little fun. I'm going to add this little charm to the bottom of the pendant as like a little dangly. So the first thing we do, this stone is a really awkward and really more large shape than I normally work with or have been working with on video. So with that in mind, I took a little bit more than a hand's worth of copper wire, maybe like basically from my wrist down to my forearm, and as well quite a bit more of the 24 gauge wire. I don't know if I said it. This is a 20 gauge wire. This is a 24 gauge wire. Both of them copper as well. There's copper charm heart is copper as well. And I'm looking at this 24 gauge wire now, in fact, and I'm wondering if I'm gonna have enough to finish. But rather than letting this wire go to waste, I'm just gonna try it, and then if I need to, I'll add some on later. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna kiss the points of the 20 gauge wire, and then slide down to from the bottom here, and from there we're gonna take the rounded finger part of the pliers and wrap the wire around the finger all the way tight so it creates that loop. And then before we continue, we're just gonna slide that little heart charm, kind of close the gap tight. There you go. And then we close the door being the loop there. And now we have, in fact, I think I want to make this a little bit tighter. And from there, now we have the dangly added. And then I'm gonna twist this around so that's a little bit more tight. I'm trying to think if there's a way to see how it just wants to hang on one side or the other, and I want to have it perfectly centered in the middle. I think what I'll do is when I add the 24 gauge wire, which is right now, I'm going to do what am I going to do? What will I do? I'm going to just twist this around once more, see if that tightens it, and it did not. Okay. Well, I won't worry about that for now because chances are, if you even have a charm at home, it's probably not going to be this one. It'll be something with like a nice loop to attach into, which obviously I recommend starting with that loop. And I'm just going to continue on. So what I did is the same thing where I kissed the points of the 24 gauge wire, slid all the way down to find the middle here, and then from that middle, we're just going to slide it around where we've began wrapping the 20 gauge wire, and then just start twisting one end of 24 gauge wire around one end of the 20 gauge wire. And then once we've got a little bit of momentum, we'll switch up and then start wrapping around the other side as well. And based on the awkward shape and size of this thing, I think I'm going to end up doing a lot of wrapping before I begin getting to the next step. And I have my chai coffee cup that's kind of in my way, making me need to go slower because I have to be careful with these bands are just nice and neat, and they're not overlapping each other, and there's not a large gap between them. And then as I do that, to kind of increase the speed a little bit, you'll notice that this hand rocks back and forth, and that's to like kind of speed up the twist. And then so from there I'll stop. That looks like a good amount based on the size of this stone, and I'll just switch up and get that going about the same length as where I want it to be on the other side. So from here, I'm going to place with my 3 fingers, I'm holding the stone in place. And while I do that, actually I got to go around the wire. So bring the wire around, and then I place my fingers locked in. And I want to pull tight. Not so tight that the crystal will shoot out, but tight enough that it actually locks the crystal in place. And then from here, we'll just continue our wraps. I'll do like 3 or 4 on this side. And really the whole purpose of this is just to lock the stone in. And then I'll flip it around and do the same thing on this end. I think I'll do like 3 across. So just before I get to the where the stone curves here, right before that, like right about there really, maybe like 1 more. I'll stop here and then check on this side. I've got a little bit more to go before I get to that curve there. So I'll catch up on this side. And the good news is it looks like I did pull off enough of this 24 gauge wire. I was a little worried about that, but I'll definitely have enough in order to finish this wrap. Now that I've got here just before the curve, I'm going to swing this one around once more and just bring it over to the other side, and then actually kind of loose, but that's fine. I'll show you that style finish. And then I'll bring this over to the other side. And this one is going to be like really important that it's going to be like the most tight, the most locked in. Why? Well, because that way you can guarantee that your stone's going to be locked and secure. It's not, once you finish, it's not going to fall out. And then so from here, I'm just continuing the wrapping, and what I want to do is wrap all the way up to the point where I can bend this wire over and then have the wrap kind of finish right here in the middle of the top, and then I'll do the same thing along this side, bend it down to the middle to the top. And then to give me a little room to work with, I'm just going to bend out, I call them the longhorns, but these ones are kind of wonky. They look really more like deer antlers. These are uneven, but that's fine. It's not important to have those longhorns be like perfectly symmetrical, because you're going to end up bending those out of place later anyway. I just do that to kind of give me room to have my hand work around. So if I look here, it looks like I got a little lazy with the tightening. You can see that last one. To fix that, you just go back a little bit and then twist. Go back loose and then pull tight, twist forward. And that just solves that. Each of these 24 gauge wires and wrap it around both of the 20 gauge wires. And so we tuck it under, it goes out underneath this wire, and then it goes back over both of them. We'll do that twice. So there's 1 and 2. And that way these guys are locked into each other. And that completes the wrap as well. Same thing with the other side. Go under once, pull it tight, pull this one a little bit tighter too, and then back, going over and then back under. And making sure none of these guys really cross over each other. Kind of loose, but that's okay. As long as they don't cross over each other, that's what's really important. Okay, and then from here, we'll pinch down at the middle and then just pull each wire up. And I definitely have a lot of extra wire to work with, but that's okay. Always better to have more than less. So from here, I just measure like 2 digits of my finger. And of course, that's my own finger length. Maybe your fingers at home are a little bit of a different length. I have no idea. I haven't looked at a measuring tape in a long time, but we'll call that like 2 inches, right? And then so from there, the wire with just 2 inches, we'll take the flat part of our pliers, pinch down a little bit on the tip end, and just twist to have this 90-degree turn. And then from there, we're gonna pinch down on the rounded part of the fingers and roll in the opposite direction of where we just bent the 90-degree, what I call the Q-tail. Because if you can see, it's reversed. So if I flip it on this side, you can see it's like a capital Q with the O and then the Q-tail. And then you always want to have your Q-tail pointing downwards. For this time, I managed to do 3, sometimes it's 2. Really, only 1 is necessary, but I guess I just find it more aesthetically pleasing to do more. And then from here, we're going to take the other 20-gauge wire and wrap it around the neck. And then you want to start going up and then work your way down the neck towards the crystal body. And in fact, I forgot a portion, so I'm going to unwrap those. I'm going to take the 24-gauge wires and just bring those up like they're 2 hands raising to the sun. And then from here, then I do that part where I wrap around the neck like a scarf. And I'm just going to do this until I'm low on wire. And to finish, I'm going to do a spiral. So to do the spiral, you take the tip end of the wire and you just curl it back into itself. And then you just start wrapping around. And then this is where it's nice to have the flat part of the pliers, because if you continue to wrap with the tip of the fingers, it tends to create like a kind of a cone shape, and you want to keep the spiral flat. So from there, we just poke the spiral down, and then I'm just going to curl that Q tip, tuck it under, so that way it's not poking out. And then from there, we're just going to take these 24-gauge wires and do the same thing where we just wrap it around the neck and work our way down. And then when we run out of wire, we're going to do the same thing with the Q-tip, where we just take the tip and curl it. And then tuck it under. There we have a little rose quartz pendant with a heart charm. Just kidding, I forgot. I was going to show you the style finish, because you can see that these guys are a little loose. So what I do is just pinch down in the middle and twist in one direction or the other, and then you can see it creates this cool, unique wave. And then I'll do the same thing with the top here. Make sure not to tighten it. Sometimes with these awkward shapes, if you tighten it too much, it pulls the backside out of place. So you want to keep that in mind as you twist. So there we've got like 3 waves there. And this is pretty tight. Maybe I'll do a wave at the bottom here, because this one's kind of loose. But these guys are pretty tight enough that they don't need a wave. Alright, and now we are done.